Have you ever met someone who changed your entire world in just a few moments? For me, that person was Maya. Our story isn't a fairy tale, but it's the most real and beautiful thing I've ever known. It all started on a surprisingly sunny afternoon in a quiet little bookstore, the kind with creaky floors and the smell of old paper. I was browsing the poetry section, looking for something to pull me out of a creative rut. I'm a musician, or at least I was trying to be. At that point, I felt more like a professional procrastinator with a guitar. That's when I saw her. She was sitting by the window, a book in her lap, but she wasn't reading. She was just gazing outside, a small, thoughtful smile on her face, as she watched the world go by. Her hair was cut short, which made her large, expressive eyes seem even more captivating. There was a certain stillness about her, a kind of peace that was both intriguing and a little intimidating. I remember thinking she looked like a character straight out of a French film. I pretended to be deeply interested in a book of sonnets, stealing glances at her every few seconds. I must have looked ridiculous. Finally, I gathered up every ounce of courage I had. I walked over, my heart pounding a rhythm way too fast for any song I'd ever written. "That's a good one," I said, pointing to the book in her lap. It was a collection of essays by a writer I actually admired. Smooth, right? She looked up and her smile widened. It was like the sun breaking through the clouds. "It is," she said, her voice soft but clear.
He has a way of finding beauty in the most ordinary things. We started talking.
About books, about music, about the way the light hit the dust motes dancing in the air. It was effortless. Talking to her felt like coming home to a place I'd never been before. I learned her name was Maya, and in that one afternoon, surrounded by the silent stories of 1,000 books, our own story began. I asked for her number, half expecting her to say no. But she gave it to me, and as I walked out of that bookstore, I felt like I was floating. I had no idea that this beautiful, enigmatic girl was about to teach me more about life and love than I could ever have imagined. Our first date was a walk in the park. It was simple, but with Maya, everything felt extraordinary. She pointed out the different kinds of birds, she knew the names of all the flowers, and she had a theory about what the squirrels were plotting. She made me laugh, a deep, genuine laugh that I hadn't heard from myself in a long time. She was so full of life, so present in every single moment. We sat on a bench, and I played a little melody I'd been working on. It was rough, unfinished. But she listened with her whole being, her eyes closed, a gentle smile on her lips. When I finished, she said, "That's beautiful." It sounds like hope. Hope. That word stuck with me. Because I realized that's what she was giving me. Before Maya, my days were a monotonous gray. I was just going through the motions, my passion for music fading, but she painted my world in vibrant colors. She encouraged me to write, not for fame or success, but for the joy of creating. She believed in me more than I believed in myself. We spent the next few weeks inseparable. We had picnics under the stars, we went to open mic nights where she'd be my one-person cheer squad, and we had deep conversations that lasted until dawn. I was falling for her fast and hard. It was the kind of love you read about in books, the kind that makes you feel like you can do anything. I was completely head over heels in love. But there was something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Sometimes, in the middle of a laugh, a shadow would pass over her eyes. Sometimes she'd get a phone call and walk away to take it, her voice hushed. And she would get tired easily, needing to rest after just a short walk. I brushed it off. Maybe she was just an introvert, maybe she had a demanding job I didn't know about. I was so caught up in the magic of it all, I didn't want to see the signs. The truth came out one evening about a month after we met. We were at my apartment. I had just cooked her dinner, a slightly burnt but well-intentioned pasta dish. We were laughing about my culinary skills when her phone buzzed. It was a reminder. "Hospital appointment." My heart skipped a beat. "Is everything okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She looked at me and the playful light in her eyes faded. It was replaced by a deep, heartbreaking sadness. She took a deep breath. "Leo," she started, her voice barely a whisper. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you from the beginning." And then she told me she had a terminal illness. A rare genetic condition that was slowly, but surely, taking her. The doctors had given her a timeline. A year, maybe two if she was lucky. The words hit me like a physical blow. I couldn't breathe. The whole room felt like it was spinning. This vibrant, life-affirming woman, the one who taught me about hope, was running out of time. I didn't know what to say. I just stared at her, a million questions and emotions swirling inside me. Anger, confusion, and an overwhelming, crushing sadness. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to scream. But looking at her, at the tears welling up in her own eyes, all I could feel was a profound ache for her. For us. I didn't want this to be our story, she said, her voice cracking. I just wanted to be a normal girl falling for a boy. I wanted to have that, even for a little while. Without the shadow of this thing, she explained that the fatigue, the mysterious appointments, it was all part of it. She was trying to protect me, to give us a pocket of time that was just ours, untainted by sickness and hospitals. My first instinct was to run. This was too much. It was too painful. How could I let myself love someone knowing I was going to lose them? It felt like signing up for a guaranteed heartbreak. But then I looked at Maya, really looked at her. I saw the fear in her eyes, but I also saw the strength. The same strength that allowed her to find joy in a sunset, in a melody, in a simple conversation. And in that moment, I made a choice. I could walk away and save myself from future pain. Or I could stay and cherish every single second I had with this incredible person. I thought about the gray, colorless world I lived in before her. She had brought me back to life. How could I abandon her now? I moved closer and took her hand. It was trembling. Okay, I said, my voice thick with emotion. Okay, Maya. I didn't have the words to promise her forever, but I could promise her now. I could promise her every sunrise and sunset we had left. We'll face this, I said. Together. From that day on, everything changed. And yet nothing changed. We were still us. We still laughed, went on adventures, and I still played my guitar for her. But now there was an urgency, a preciousness to every moment. We stopped talking about someday and focused on right now. We made a right now list. Things we wanted to do, see, and experience together. It wasn't about grand bucket list items. It was about simple joys. We learned to dance the tango in her living room, following a tutorial on her laptop. We were terrible, stepping on each other's feet, and laughing until our sides hurt. We drove to the coast just to watch the sunrise, huddled together under a blanket with a thermos of hot chocolate. We planted a small garden on her balcony, and she taught me the difference between a weed and a seedling. Of course, it wasn't always easy. There were hard days. Days she was too weak to get out of bed. Days filled with doctor's appointments and the sterile smell of hospitals. On those days, I'd just sit with her, hold her hand, and read to her from her favorite books. I'd play her the new songs she inspired me to write. My music was different now. It wasn't about angst or ambition anymore. It was about her. It was about love, loss, and the bittersweet beauty of a finite existence. I saw a different side of her strength during those times. She faced her illness not with despair, but with a quiet, fierce grace. She never complained. Instead, she'd make jokes with the nurses, or she'd get absorbed in a documentary about deep-sea creatures. She was determined to live, truly live, with every breath she had. One of the hardest things was watching the people around us. My friends thought I was crazy. "You're just setting yourself up for pain," one of them told me. Her family was grateful I was there, but I could see the sorrow in their eyes every time they looked at us. They were preparing to say goodbye, and here I was, still saying hello every morning. But they didn't understand. The love I felt for Maya wasn't a burden, it was a gift. She taught me that the value of love isn't measured by its duration. A love that lasts a lifetime isn't necessarily deeper than a love that lasts a season. She taught me to be present, to find beauty in the imperfections, and to love without reservation, even with the knowledge of inevitable loss. As time went on, her good days became fewer. Our world grew smaller, shrinking to the size of her apartment, then to her room, then to her bed. But our love didn't shrink. It grew more concentrated, more potent. Every shared glance, every touch, every whispered "I love you" held the weight of 1,000 unlived tomorrows. I finished a whole album of songs for her. I played it for her one afternoon, my guitar resting on the edge of her bed. It was our story, set to music. The song about the bookstore, the song about our clumsy tango, the song about the sunrise on the coast. When I finished the last song, a soft, quiet melody about finding forever in a moment, there were tears streaming down her face. But she was smiling. That same beautiful smile from the day I first saw her. "That's our hope," she whispered. Maya passed away on a quiet Tuesday morning, just as the sun was beginning to light up the sky. I was with her, holding her hand. Her last breath was as peaceful as her presence had always been. The silence she left behind was deafening. The world, which had been so vibrant and full of color, turned gray again. The grief was a tidal wave. It consumed me. For a long time, I couldn't pick up my guitar. Every note reminded me of her. Every song was our song. It felt like the music had died with her. I felt lost, adrift in a world that she had made so beautiful but that now felt empty. But then, slowly, I started to remember her lessons. I started to hear her voice in my head encouraging me. "Find beauty in the ordinary," she would say. "Don't waste a single moment." I realized that to stop living, to stop creating, would be the ultimate betrayal of her memory. She lived every moment so fully. The greatest tribute I could pay her was to do the same. So I picked up my guitar again, and I played. I played through the tears, through the pain. I played our songs. I performed at an open mic night, the first one since she was gone. I told our story, and then I sang. The room was silent, and when I was done, the applause felt different. It wasn't just for the music. It was for the story, for the love. Falling for Maya was the most painful and the most beautiful experience of my life. She broke my heart, but she also put it back together, bigger and more capable of love than it was before. She's gone, but she's not. She's in every sunrise, in every hopeful melody, in the pages of every good book. She taught me that time is precious, and that a short life lived with love and purpose can be more meaningful than a long one lived in the gray. I may have lost her, but I found myself. And for that, I will be forever grateful. Our story didn't have a happy ending in the traditional sense, but it was a true love story. And true love never really ends. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've been touched by this, please consider sharing it. You never know who might need to hear it. Don't forget to follow for more stories that touch the heart.